Week 11 of the NFL season, Turf and Touchdowns is here. Plenty of winners last week. You're in exactly the right position for plenty more winners this week. Luke Elder alongside Tom Collins. I'll be honest, Tom, last week went absolutely fantastically.
It did. We had 8 winners from 11 selections between us. We were very unlucky with our losers as well. You only had one loser, but it was across 2 selections. I had one loser, which I will talk about in my What on Earth, which is coming up shortly. But it was a great week, a really good watch, just watching Red Zone and Sunday Night Football, but also a great week from a punting perspective as well. Hopefully it can continue this week. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I had one loser and they fired Shane Waldron because of it. So that's absolutely fine on that part. But last week, it was a big week for the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. We had the 4 winners each, so 8 winners set together. Both of us managed to win the play of the day. And we also had a joint play going, which on Sunday now is 3 from 3, 3 from 4 on the season. Stay exactly where you are. We've got tons of selections coming at you on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast this week. Let's dive into, the What on Earth segment. Just before I do that, subscribe down below. There's a beautiful little button in the right-hand corner. If you aren't subscribed, click that. Then you'll be notified on everything that we do. Leave a comment down below. Leave a like down below as well. And also follow us on our socials at Turf Touchdowns on Twitter / X, and we're on Blue Sky as well because we are cool, and that means that we can converse with plenty more of you. Thank you for joining us from Blue Sky as well at Turf and Touchdowns over at Blue Sky. But What on Earth is a segment that we like to do, which calls out ridiculousness from the week just gone by. I'm going to hand it over to you, Tom, because I feel like you've got some venting to do.
Yeah, I really don't like to vent in this segment. That's a complete lie. I didn't vent last week. I said some positive things about Saquon Barkley. This week, I will do a mini rant. It won't be a big one. Don't worry, guys. It's only going to be about 20 seconds. But what on earth, Foster Moreau? You cost me the full house. It would have been the 5 out of 5. The dream in week 10 of the NFL season. Taysom Hill, anytime touchdown, was my only loser last week. He got a touchdown. That's the problem. He was a big price. He was 2-1. He found the end zone. I received a notification on my phone. Taysom Hill touchdown, Saints 6-0. I thought this week is going to go swell. Everything is going to go beautifully. Touchdown, called back. Holding, 10-yard penalty, offense. Foster Moreau, holding on the 41-yard line. Taysom was already going to get to the end zone. Okay, maybe not. Maybe that's an exaggeration. Maybe the defensive player would have tackled him. But Foster, do not hold. There is nothing worse than a holding call, pulling back a touchdown, especially on an anytime touchdown scorer bet at a good price, and Taysom Hill couldn't grab another touchdown later in the game. So what on earth, Foster Moreau? You cost me the full house. That being said, I can't really complain because it was a good week last week.
Yeah, it was a hold, though.
It was a hold. Yeah, I mean, the referee did a great decision. That is not my point. My point is, what on earth, Foster Moreau? You don't need to do it, man.
I'm going to go less negative on this one, depending which way you think about it. What on earth, Baker Mayfield? Who's this guy? He's been absolutely incredible this season. And now he's stiff-arming Nick Bosa while he's throwing the ball and I think making a completion. He was absolutely incredible. Look, he's down Mike Evans. He's down Chris Godwin. Mike Evans is coming back in the near future, but Chris Godwin's done for the year unless they make the playoffs, potentially. But he's still absolutely dealing. Is Baker Mayfield. He's putting his team in good positions. But that Nick Bosa play was ridiculous. Nick Bosa was holding onto his left arm the entire time. Baker Mayfield was just running with the ball in one hand. Nick Bosa couldn't keep up with him. I don't know if Nick Bosa is a bit weaker from being Donald Trump's cheerleader over the last couple of weeks or so and wearing ridiculous MAGA hats. Yes, we're going there. But he didn't look quite as fast on that play. And Baker Mayfield made him look stupid, which is real easy to do. Except for on the football field. Baker Mayfield, very good job. Well done. The community is with you on that side of things. Let's move on before we get politically banned. Let's talk about our selections. We're going to go into it. We're going to talk about our good friends over at SBK, though. First, who are sponsoring us through thick and thin, through horse racing and also through NFL on this side of things. And SBK, delighted to tell you that this weekend, if you head over to SBK, they have got a 25% boost on all accumulators on the NFL side of things, whether you like my selections, whether you like Tom's selections, whether you want to mix them all up like last week and create a bit of success, you get that 25% boost. And, Tom, it can provide a bit of value on that side of things.
Yeah, and why choose SBK over others? Well, they don't have any casino, there's no slots, there's no roulettes, none of that rubbish. It's sports betting. We love sports betting. It's the place to go. They have the best odds, they have good markets, albeit you sometimes have to wait just before the games. So if you don't see the markets immediately when viewing this podcast, don't you worry about that. They have great odds, and hopefully they can land your bets for them and get your returns. I've been working with SBK for a long time, as you know, especially if you've been watching our podcast over the last few weeks, and I've gone through this spiel before. But they're a fantastic company, and they not only offer that ACCA boost that Luke's talked about, but also if you haven't got an account with them, new customers, you can get £40 in free bets when you play your first £10. So you basically get 40 quid for free to place on some of these NFL picks, whether it be accumulators, bet builders, or just a single on our play of the day. So yes, go over to SBK. There's a link in the description below for you to sign up, get an account, and take advantage of those offers.
Max stakes and T's and C's apply. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly on that side of things. I'm a little bit thirsty.
Oh, me too, after last week.
Parched, some would say parched. Now, again, if you're new to the Turf and Touchdowns podcast, then we have a victory sip if our player of the day goes in. We're both victory sipping this week. And I would like to say as well, if you did back either of the player of the days, get your drink ready. You may join in on this. If you didn't back them, sorry. Well, no joining.
Oh, it tastes good, mate. It tastes good. Come on.
It does taste better. It does taste better than the normal agua that we would generally drink, or whatever purple drink you've got. Let's talk about our first selections. We've both got plenty to run through this week. My first one is going to be a guy that up until a few weeks ago, I don't think many of us, many people would have heard of, in the form of Cedric Tillman, who plays for the Cleveland Browns. He is one of many people whose life has improved by Deshaun Watson being removed from it on a football field. And Cedric Tillman is having a fantastic season as a result. Over 57.5 receiving yards is the play with Cedric Tillman. He's 10 to 11 in regards to that. Great news. Jameis Winston is remaining the starter in Cleveland. He's thrown for the last 2 weeks since coming in as starter, Jameis Winston, for 334 and 235 yards in both of those games. That's really helped out Cedric Tillman. Tillman's coming off the back of 3 games with 12 targets, 9 targets, and 11 targets. This came out of nowhere. He wasn't a thing in the first few weeks of the season, but he's taken a massive step forward. He's suddenly a vital part of this offense. In weeks 7 through 9, Cedric Tillman has led the league in targets with 32, 5th in yards, 255, and 2nd in touchdowns with 3 touchdowns, 2 of them in the same game. That was via Austin Abbott on Twitter for those stats. Thank you, Austin. The Saints as well. I mean, the Saints aren't great, full stop, regardless of where you look at them. They allowed 111 yards to Lad McConkey in recent weeks in the same game, 72 yards to Josh Palmer. Last week, you look at them, they didn't allow a 100-yard receiver, no, but 97 yards to Drake London and 96 to Darnell Mooney. This is going to be a Cedric Tillman game. Honestly, I think you can look at a lot of the Cleveland team and just take the overs on their receiving. David Njoku, Jerry Jeudy, possibly Elijah Moore. But I think Cedric Tillman once again will lead them. He's led them in receiving the last 3 weeks, and we're starting off with a bang as well. This season, I'm 10-1 on my play of the day. I didn't think I'd be saying this at any point in the season, Tom, but Cedric Tillman over 57.5 receiving yards is my play of the day.
It's bold, it's brash, but I like that you're going in with it early in the podcast. Hopefully everyone that's listening right now is whacking onto SBK and seeing that line for Cedric Tillman, trying to take advantage of the overs. I like it. I'll be watching with good interest. I refuse to bet on the Browns, so I personally won't be getting involved, but I'll be cheering you on and Tillman on, as we do every week, cheering each other's selections on. So best of luck with that. I'm going to say what I do every single Sunday NFL podcast. If you want to know all our selections, there's a roundup at the end. However, and this is a key point, we now have timestamps in the YouTube video. You'll be able to see little bars. I'm going to allocate them, Tom's first pick, Luke's first pick, etc. So you can skip through if you don't want to listen to the analysis, but do make sure you listen to all of our selections to find all the winners. Now, I am not sure about Cedric Tillman as a person because he was in my fantasy league.
What's he done to you?
I'll tell you what he's done to me. He was in my fantasy league for 2 years, and I left him on my bench. And I thought, Cedric Tillman one day will explode. I watched him in college for Clemson. He was a very good wide receiver. I then thought, well, maybe I was just wrong about this guy. Dropped him. Next game, absolute breakout game. And ever since, he's been pretty decent. So I'm not sure about Tillman, but I'm going to move from one good college wide receiver to another great college wide receiver who has now developed into a fantastic NFL wide receiver. And it is that man, Justin Jefferson. I like Justin Jefferson this week. His over receiving yards line is set at 79.5. Hopefully that hasn't moved by the time you watch this podcast. I'm taking the overs. I think he's going to get 80 plus, at least 80 in this game. Now, the Vikings are playing the Titans. The Titans are terrible. They're 2-7 on the year. The Vikings are a lot better, albeit they haven't been firing in the last couple of weeks as they were towards the start of the season when they were unbeaten. Justin Jefferson's had one game against the Titans in his career. He got 175 yards and a touchdown. Great stats. Obviously, that kind of thing is irrelevant because it's a completely different Titans secondary. It's a different Vikings offense, different QB thrown to him. But still, the one time he's played this team, he dominated. More importantly, the Titans secondary this season, and especially over the past couple of weeks, have been shocking. They were beaten deep by Ladd McConkey and Josh Palmer last week. The previous week, they allowed Drake May to complete 29 passes. Drake May of the New England Patriots offense that cannot move the ball. 29 passes. Everything seems to be going the way of the offense when they play the Tennessee Titans defense and when they go deep against this secondary. Justin Jefferson is elite. In my opinion, he's the best wide receiver in the league, or at least top two. I think he's going to be looked at a lot. The Vikings need to snap this streak and get back into a winning zone to give themselves a chance of winning the division over the Packers. Well, obviously, and the Lions. That's probably not going to happen. And make the playoffs. Justin Jefferson is going to be looked at a lot. Tennessee's defense ranks 29th in sacks out of 32 and 26th in QB pressures. Sam Darnold is going to have this lovely space around him in the pocket to find Justin Jefferson. Watch Jay Jetters hit the over. 80 plus yards guaranteed. Justin Jefferson over 79.5 receiving yards at 10-11 is my first pick and also my play of the day.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you worried about Sam Darnold having a slight hand injury?
No.
I mean, clearly not.
I feel like I could throw to Justin Jefferson against the Tennessee Titans defense for 80 plus yards.
The Titans defense have been weird. They were amazing to start the season. They were absolutely incredible. And then now they've just gone downhill and now it's just real ugly. But Will Levis comes in and throws one pretty pass every single week on their offensive side of things. So that's something to look forward to. I'm going to move on to my next. Talking of pretty passing, a lot of that going on in Pittsburgh at the moment. Russell Wilson has been very good since coming in. Look, he was awful in Denver. The whole team in Denver was awful. But since coming to Pittsburgh, he's looked brilliant. George Pickens has been brilliant as a result as well. His line is 66.5 on the receiving side of things. That's 10-11. I like the over on that. I'm a big George Pickens fan for this season. I was offered a trade in Dynasty a few weeks ago, Tom. George Pickens straight up for Brandon Ayuk. This was just after Ayuk got injured. And someone tried going like, "Oh, you need to rebuild." It's like, no, that's not happening. It's not even close. Not even close. But it's a good job I didn't accept that trade because George Pickens has been absolutely fantastic since. Same can't be said for Baltimore, who he takes on. Baltimore are not the defense they've been in recent years. Mike McDonald has joined the Seahawks as head coach, and it's just gone downhill. You can really target the Baltimore Ravens if you're in the opposing offense. Russell Wilson, though, he came in week 7. He's only actually played 3 games, or even a couple of games, I should say, for the Steelers as a starter. Pickens in the last 3 weeks has finished with 111, 74, and 91 yards. The Baltimore secondary is an absolute shambles, as I've mentioned. They've allowed a 100-yard receiver in 3 of the last 4 weeks. The only one that they didn't allow a 100-yard receiver was to the Browns, where my good friend Cedric Tillman got 99 yards. So he effectively was a 100-yard receiver on the week. Jamar Chase got 1,000,000 yards last week, which helped us out on our Thursday night selections, 264 yards to be precise, and 3 touchdowns. And they're getting worse as well. Kyle Hamilton didn't practice the other day, one of their star safeties. Kyle Van Noy, outside linebacker, he didn't practice the other day either. They've both missed practice. If they're both out, this Baltimore defense is going to be absolutely atrocious. They have brought in Tre'Davious White. I don't think he's going to play that much this week, but they need a guy like Tre'Davious White to be absolutely on his A game. I just think that Russell Wilson could have an absolute day against Baltimore. They might beat Baltimore. It sounds weird to say. It sounds weird to say. This is going to be a high-scoring affair. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Mike Tomlin came in and just did Mike Tomlin things to Baltimore. I know you love Baltimore. We get it. But it wouldn't shock me if Pittsburgh beat him. Genuinely.
We do a lot of hand holding on this podcast and saying our selections have got promising looks to them. I have nothing against your George Pickens selection. Great case made for him. Highly likely to hit the overs based on this Baltimore defense. The Ravens will outscore Pittsburgh. They'll win that game. I'm sure of it. But hopefully your pick wins. That's all that matters. You haven't put up as a tip the Steelers to win. You've put up George Pickens overs. So we'll take that and leave it. My next two selections, pick 2 and pick 3 of the week for myself, they're very similar. So I'm just going to go back to back here. They're anytime touchdown picks, and they're both for running backs. I'm going to start with Devon Acham. 8 to 11 right now, anytime touchdown for the Miami Dolphins. Look, Miami have been shocking this year, but they did beat the Rams in a bit of a turn up on, was it Sunday night? On Monday Night Football? Monday Night Football yes. Last week. They're playing the Raiders this week. They're probably going to go back-to-back in wins because the Raiders are even worse. They stink. And Devon Achan's 8 to 11. Now, Achan gets the target share in this offense. He's quite clearly RB1. Raheem Mostert, I don't even think had a carry last week. I think he had 2 catches.
No, he caught a couple of passes, I think. But he's been phased out as Mostert.
Exactly. And Achan's just getting everything in the running game. But also from a passing game, Achan had 5 catches. He's like quite clearly the second read for Tua. The dump off, the screen, maybe even in routes as well. So, Achan gets a lot of the ball. And when you get the ball that much against the Raiders, you are likely to score. We kind of used this angle earlier in the season. I put up Kyren Williams against the Raiders, I think, and he got 2 touchdowns. So, I like Devon Achan. 8 to 11 is a short price, one of the shorter prices that we put up over the course of the season, but I think is a good thing. If you just look back at the Raiders' record in recent weeks against opposition running backs, last week, 120 yards to Chase Brown. The week before, 59 yards and a touchdown to Kareem Hunt. The week before, 76 and 2 TDs to Kyren Williams. Why do I keep doing that? Kyren Williams. That is a penalty. That is a fine for me.
This has been like 5 times this season you've called Kyren Wilson.
That is a fine for me. Right, let me get back to it.
Not even just on the podcast. This has been an everyday life that you're calling Kyren Wilson.
I love the snooker player. Anyway, back to what I was saying. 106 and 1 TD to Najee Harris and 59 and 2 TDs to Justin Fields. I mean, this is a defense, the Raiders defense, that just gives up yards and touchdowns to opposition running backs and QBs who can run the ball. So just give me Devon Achan anytime touchdown for the Dolphins. I think he's a very good play. And I'll back that up with another one for a similar case, and I'll keep this one a lot shorter. Breece Hall, anytime touchdown at 4 to 6 for the New York Jets. Breece Hall has obviously been the bane of the podcast towards the start of the year. We were 0 for 5 tipping him. Fortunately, he broke that duck last time when I put him up 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think it was, and he got a touchdown that day. The Jets are playing the Colts here. I'm overlooking the Hall curse, we're going to call it. The Colts are 3rd worst against the running backs in this league. They give up 148 yards per game on average. It's just a great spot for Breece Hall. And if the Jets are going to finally spark into life, they're not going to do it with Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to do it with Garrett Wilson. They're not going to do it with Devontae Adams. They are going to do it with Breece Hall. I like Hall to make the end zone here. And hopefully that Achan and Hall kind of back-to-back, running back, anytime touchdown score in the 6 p.m. games can land.
Achan and Hall sounds like a moderate 80s combination.
It does. It really does.
I don't know what they did. I don't know if it's like music or if it was like a cop show or something like that. It's like Achan and Hall. It's like, I don't know. They're doing something though.
What about Kyren Wilson? Was Kyren Wilson in that?
No, Kyren Wilson was one of the bad guys they were trying to chase.
Right.
But they can't do it because he lives in the end zone. Right. That was one of the worst segues ever. I'm going to correct myself on the last one, by the way. Russell Wilson played 3 weeks, not 2 weeks, as a starter for the Steelers, but who cares? Right, let's move on to the next one. Last week, I focused on a player to do 2 things in the same game. Worked out with George Kittle. He went over his line and also touchdown. DeAndre Swift got Shane Waldron, but that won't happen anymore. I think Josh Jacobs is a play this week. Now, there are 2 teams on this podcast that are cursed. The Jets are one of them. And Tom, I'm going to say that the Packers are the other one that's cursed because the Packers, they've not been our friends, have they, so far?
No, I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but no.
Oh, no. Look how sad he is. There's no Packers swag coming out today. Right. Josh Jacobs, Anytime touchdown is 10 to 11. Josh Jacobs over 68.5 rushing yards is 10 to 11. Now, they are taking on the Chicago Bears. So this is a big, big game for the Packers. They need to be up for it. The Bears are coming with Shane Waldron. Obviously, no longer there. They've got a new offensive coordinator. The Bears also are not very good against the run. If you look at fantasy, they're not bad, but they don't allow that many touchdowns, in all honesty, to running backs. But more for a reason that the passing game of the other team has been very good. The Bears allowed 120 yards to running backs last week against New England. That's all running backs thrown in together, and the running game, it wasn't fantastic against from New England last week. Ramondre Stevenson looked sluggish, I'd say at best, but he still got the job done. Against Arizona 2 weeks ago, they allowed 205 yards to all of their running backs, 107 of them to James Conner. Against Washington the week prior, they allowed 116 yards to all running backs as well. Look, they're just a team that really struggle against the run. Josh Jacobs, though, he's been brilliant so far this season. I say so far. This is the majority of the season. He's got 4 touchdowns in the last 5 games. That includes a receiving touchdown as well. He's taken over the backfield once again. At the start of the year, he had everything. Then they started trying to work in a few guys like Emmanuel Wilson, and he looked okay until he didn't. And Emmanuel Wilson has really not been a factor the last couple of weeks. No one else in this backfield has got more than 4 carries in the last couple of weeks. Emmanuel Wilson 3 weeks ago had 5 carries, but for 11 yards. And since then, it's been absolutely nothing. Josh Jacobs has averaged over 5 yards per carry in the last 3 weeks. I think he's just a guy that's going to absolutely feast this week coming up. Not a big Josh Jacobs guy, honestly. I liked him when he was with the Raiders, but became a touch disappointing in his earlier years. But last 3 years, he has sorted out a touch. I think, and it pains me to say this, Tom, I think he's going to go big for the Packers this week. So Josh Jacobs, anytime touchdown, and also anytime over 68.5 rushing yards. He'll do it at any point in the game. It doesn't matter. He'll go over it though.
Good save. Good save. Give me Josh Jacobs 9 touchdowns. That's not a selection for myself, but it would extremely help my pick, which is the Packers -5.5 against the Bears. I'm also targeting this game only with the 1 selection, and it is more of a basic pick just against the spread. But 10 to 11 here, and hopefully the Packers can cover, winning by 6 or more points. Now, I've put up the Packers twice this year. Both times they have failed to win the selection, win the bet. One time they didn't cover the spread, but they won the game, which actually made, because I'm a Packers fan, it made it 10 times worse, because actually I should have been happy, but I was extremely sad. Third time lucky is what they say. So fingers crossed it actually works this time. Now, the Chicago Bears suck, and nothing would make me happier than the Packers beating the Bears this week. Sorry, Bears fans, if you are watching this. I'm not, but
he hates you. He told me.
I don't like the Chicago Bears. It's the one team I don't like as a Packers fan. Shane Waldron's gone. Are the Bears going to improve?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Immediately,
No.
yes. Immediately, yes.
Not immediately. I think they will improve.
As a Seahawks fan, we know how bad Shane Waldron is as an offensive coordinator. Can I bring out the Jackson Smith and Jigba quote again for you? When he was asked about if Shane Waldron is a good offensive coordinator, his quote was, is this live? That was his reply. He's a terrible offensive coordinator. Whoever they've got in next, better.
I understand that, and I don't disagree. My point here is, in a week, can a new offensive play caller create a weird offense that can now work? No.
Yes.
Not with a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams. It's not going to work. We know that rookies with new playbooks just don't succeed straight away. So I think the Bears are going to fail to put up many points. If they put up more than 14, I'd be surprised, especially considering the Chicago Bears have the worst O-line in the league. Mm-hmm. No doubt about that. Yeah. Who's got the best D-line and the best pass rushing stats and the best sacks? It's the Green Bay Packers. They're ranked number 1 in sacks on QBs. They're ranked number 1 in QB pressures. The Packers are going to take down Caleb Williams many times, and that will just stop the Bears' offense. So I think if the Packers even score 21 points, 3 touchdowns, and obviously extra points, in this game, I think they'll cover and win by 6 or more. The Packers are coming off the bye. They're ready to roll. They've got some healthier wide receivers now. Jaden Reed should be back in full fitness, or at least towards it. And this is going to bring me a lot of pleasure to say. The Packers have won 15 of the last 16 games against Chicago. 13 of those 15 wins from the last 16 games have been by 6 or more points. Now, if I give you a head-to-head record since 1994, listen to this. The Packers are 48-11 against the Bears. 48-11. They cover the spread more often than not. Give me the Packers -5.5 at 10-11 here.
I don't know how many different starting quarterbacks they've had in all those games as well, because I bet it's only like 5
Yeah.
throughout the entirety of the years. I don't hate it. Did you see the Caleb Williams videos that were going around social media? The one where he was sacked for like the billionth time of the day, and he's just on the floor like, I don't think I'm going to get up. Not because I can't, I just don't want to.
And the O-line didn't even help him either.
No, literally. It was one of the guys from New England just like, all right, come up. You're all right. And then there was one on the sideline as well. Shane Waldron is sat next to him, just having a good laugh with Caleb Williams. Go, yeah, we'll do that. And Caleb Williams just sat there like he hates being there at the moment. However, could get different, possibly.
No. Not this week.
Possibly. Let's move on to a team who, I was going to say a team who are doing well, and they are, but they're playing not good football at the moment. In the Kansas City Chiefs, they looked dreadful last week against the Denver Broncos, but the Chiefs did this last year. In the regular season, they looked pretty moderate, and then they went and won a Super Bowl, and they were fantastic once the postseason came about. So, for possibly one last time this season, give me all of the Kareem Hunt, because I think he's going to have a massive week. Kareem Hunt over 60.
That sounds like an innuendo. Give me all the Kareem Hunt.
You're gross. That's whatever that is. You're gross. Kareem Hunt over 64. It's over 64.5 rushing yards, and Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown. No, don't do that. I was going to say leave a comment down below on what you think that might be, but don't do that.
Yeah, do not do that.
We'll get banned immediately. But Kareem Hunt over 64.5 rushing yards and an anytime touchdown. Good news for Kareem Hunt. He's going to get some help in the next few weeks because Isaiah Pacheco is coming back. Not this week, though. So this week, run him into the ground. Use him as much as possible. And it's a good job as well because he's got a very weak run game to try and take on, or run defense to try and take on with Buffalo. We've taken on Buffalo in the run game so many times so far this season. We took them on last week with Jonathan Taylor. He went over, I think, 100 yards in the first half. And that was even with Joe Flacco throwing interceptions on the first 2 drives. Kareem Hunt is coming into this game off the back of a fairly decent run. Look, 4 touchdowns were allowed to the position in the last 3 weeks by Buffalo. That's even in blowouts. I mean, Zach Charbonnet scored for the Seahawks a few weeks ago when the Seahawks were never even close to being in that game. Jonathan Taylor, as I say, last week, 114 yards overall. To Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert, the Buffalo allowed 119 yards to the pair of them. They're just not a very good run defense at all. Hunt did struggle last week, though, against Denver. Now, the Denver defense is good, but their run defense can be slightly leaky. But they have, at times, stood up this year. They held Chuba Hubbard to 56 yards, and for all that the game script was against New Orleans, they held all New Orleans running backs in that Thursday Night Football matchup to 53 yards. So their run defense, it can be good, and it was good against Kareem Hunt last week. Kareem Hunt was just very good in the receiving game. That's where he managed to get his fancy points if you are a Hunt owner. Last week, but he's also gone over 100 yards twice in the last 5 games, and over this line 3 times out of the last 5 games as well. His workload is massive. That's the thing with Kareem Hunt, and it's going to be possibly bigger this week with Isaiah Pacheco coming back. They don't need to protect him quite as much because they'd have to fall back on Carson Steele maybe once again, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But he's had over 22 touches in 5 straight weeks. In a couple of games, he's had 27 carries. If he gets that in anywhere near that against Buffalo, he's going to have a good week, and he's going to find the end zone as well. So Kareem Hunt over 64.5 rushing yards, Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown. I'm just hoping that the Chiefs turn up and play better football because this game could be an absolutely massive one, Tom.
Yeah, I hope they don't. I hope you land both of your picks, but I hope they don't play better football. I hope they play what we've seen from the last 10 weeks of the Kansas City Chiefs. They've been winning, but they haven't been playing well, as you say. And I'm going against them. I'm the anti-Chiefs fan this week. Give me the Buffalo Bills -2 at 10-11. Now, caveat. I messaged you on Sunday when the Chiefs won that game with a blocked field goal right at the end from Denver. And I said, I'm anti-Chiefs next week, no matter who they play. I looked at the schedule. It was the Buffalo Bills. I was extremely happy. And then I saw the opening price. and the Chiefs were 1 point favourites, and I couldn't believe it. They're on the road in Buffalo, who are a very good team, 1 point favourites considering how they've been playing this year. Unfortunately, that line has now changed, and Buffalo are 2 point favourites instead of the Chiefs being 1 point favourites. So a big swing. However, I still like the Bills to cover, win this by 3 or more. At some point, Kansas City's luck has to end. They've just not been playing well, especially on offense. They have all these stars. Well, I say all these stars. 2 stars. They've got Patrick Mahomes and they've got Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce's star isn't shining as bright as it once was. They're not playing great football. They're punting a lot more than they usually do. They're not getting as many touchdowns as they usually do. Obviously, Harrison Butker's an extremely reliable kicker, but 3 points consistently is not going to win you an NFL game on the road in Buffalo. I like Buffalo. They've been very good this year. Josh Allen, debatably one of the 2 best QBs so far this season, alongside Lamar Jackson. I think Buffalo are going to win. They've won their last 3 regular season games against the Chiefs. Now, I do say regular season because they've also played the Chiefs twice in the postseason in that time frame, and they've lost both times. But in the regular season, the Chiefs aren't the same team as they are in the post, as you've already said. So give me the Bills. Give me the Bills -2 on the spread, and hopefully they can win this game by 3 or more. That's my 5th pick. And I've got one more for you. And this comes in Monday Night Football. I usually try and do a primetime selection on Sunday night because obviously the viewers like to have that last little bet on Sunday evening. But I'm going to go to Monday night. I didn't like the Sunday night game this week between the Chargers and the Bengals. It's just not a great matchup for player props or anything like that. So I'm going to Monday night. It's a good game as well. It's between the Houston Texans and the Dallas Cowboys. I say good game. Obviously, Dallas aren't the team that everyone expected them to be, especially without Dak Prescott. But, you know, their defense is getting healthier. They've got Micah Parsons back, and that should at least provide some watchable moments from Dallas. Because Parsons is back, and I think Houston will win this game, I think CJ Stroud may be utilizing the dump-offs, the seam routes, the 5 and outs, and by doing so, he's going to be looking towards Tank Dell and he's going to be looking towards Dalton Schultz. Nico Collins is likely to play in this game, which means he'll be running the posts, the deep routes and crosses, etc. But I think with Parsons and that pressure that the Dallas D-line is going to bring on CJ Stroud, he's going to be looking for the easy gains. And Dalton Schultz is the main guy I'm going to look at here. Now, he is the least confident of my 6 picks this week. He is 15-8 anytime touchdown. That's going to be my play. The receiving yard or receptions markets were also interesting for me, but I'm going to play the anytime touchdown. Schultz previously played for the Dallas Cowboys, and it would just be extremely fitting if he got a touchdown here just to rub it in to Jerry Jones on what's been a shocking season. I just think it's very likely to happen. He hasn't got a touchdown so far this campaign, which is why he's such a big price at 15-8. But he just seems the perfect candidate against this defense for a team in the Texans that should win and should put up points against Dallas. Last season, he had 5 TDs. This year, he's going to get on the board. When is it going to be? Hopefully week 11. So finally, give me Dalton Schultz anytime touchdown on Monday Night Football for the Houston Texans at 15-8.
If Dalton Schultz scores and then does a celebration that features a set of curtains being pulled across, i.e. the Jerry Jones stuff, big fan. I would be all over that. I want to do a new thing here. Tell me of my selections, your favourite one of this week, and I'll do the same for yours. My favourite one of yours is Devon Achane. I think that's going to land. Say 8-11, but I struggle to see Achane out of the end zone.
I like Josh Jacobs over rushing yards of yours the most. I think we're going to win big in that game, and if we're up big, then Jacobs is going to get the ball up.
You know who else I think is going to win big?
Go on.
Us. Let's do our selections. All of them run through right now on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. I'm going to go first. Tom always goes first, so I'm going to do my ones first. I'll do player of the day last, but I've got George Pickens for the Steelers over 66.5 receiving yards at 10-11. Josh Jacobs anytime touchdown at 10-11, and Josh Jacobs over 68.5 rushing yards. Kareem Hunt over 64.5 rushing yards against the Bills, and Kareem Hunt as well to find the end zone anytime touchdown at 4-5. And then the player of the day is Cedric Tillman over 57.5 receiving yards. Tom Collins.
The Green Bay Packers -5.5 against the Chicago Bears at 10-11. That's selection number 1. Selection number 2, Devon Achane, anytime touchdown for the Miami Dolphins at 8-11. Selection 3, Breece Hall, anytime touchdown for the New York Jets. That's at 4-6. Selection 4, the Buffalo Bills -2 against the Kansas City Chiefs at 10-11. Selection 5 on Monday Night Football, Dalton Schultz anytime touchdown for the Houston Texans against the Dallas Cowboys at 15-8. And selection 6 and my play of the day, Justin Jefferson over 79.5 receiving yards for the Minnesota Vikings against the Tennessee Titans at 10-11. Hopefully, plenty of winners for us across the board.
Good counting. Well done. Proud of you.
Thank you. It was tough because I've actually got them written down in different order. So
yeah, I did as well. It messes you up, doesn't it?
It does.
That is the Turf and Touchdowns podcast for this week. As always, please leave a comment below with your favourite plays of this week, whether they're our ones, whether they're your ones as well. We love hearing those, and also any winners you may well have had because of the podcast last week. We would love to hear about those. Leave a like down below. Make sure you're subscribed as well on our socials at Turf Touchdowns over on Twitter /X, over on Blue Sky, and everywhere else. We are at Turf and Touchdowns. We will see you guys next week. Thank you very much for being with us. Until we next get the opportunity to speak to you, stay safe, look after one another. Goodbye.